Balls aheads. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to try and take through a video where we tune a car. So hopefully get to understand the basics of what we're trying to achieve here. Most of the time when you're putting parts in your car, you just want to be looking at grip, and more grip, lightweight, and less weight. So what I do is I always start down here and I always add the aero first. It's specific for this type of car. I won't worry about the hood. So always add the rear wing, always add the front bumper. I imagine you always do this anyway. Always add the rear, always add the race body bits. If it's got a race rear bumper, always add it. If it's a street one, unless you like the exhaust that comes with it, I don't really bother, because to me it's all about performance. The hood, now if I put the hood on, the hood will make the front end a little bit lighter. This is already a car that's heavier on the back. If it was a front wheel drive car, I might be inclined to put the hood on because it would just strip a little bit of weight off of the front, and you know, every little helps to balance the car. So generally, like I say, every race part, race, stock. So transmission, always have a transmission, because it's key to launching your car. It's key to getting your car in the right gear around the corner. You know, if you want to be track specific and tune your cars track specific, it's good for good. Differential you're always going to need, again, especially in the higher class cars. Lower class cars you can get away with running, you know, high acceleration, more slip in your wheels, because there's not that much of danger of spinning out. So but when you get to the higher cars, you will want to drop your diff down a little bit. So again, yeah, diff, we want to be able to control the acceleration and deceleration of the vehicle as we tune it. So that's them two. I don't bother with clutch, don't bother with dry line to start with. I only use these to fine tune for points if I need to. Wheels, I won't bother with wheels most of the time. Be inclined to go for the lightest or the heaviest, one or the other. I don't generally go in between. It'll either be heavy or it'll be light, depending on where the car ends up. So we don't add them on yet. We go straight to tyres. Now tyres, what we want to be doing here is making sure they're always staggered. So you can see at the moment we've got 185s and 185s. Now, if you leave them squared off, you're always going to have a little bit more oversteer. Yeah, because you've got an even keel with the grip, and once you turn in, you haven't got the extra balance from the rear end. So on a car like this, where it is heavier at the rear, having similar sized tyres, you know, in later editions of this car, they would have brought this out with staggered wheels. I mean, I think even the first edition Mark II MR2 came out with non-staggered 205s, but then I think in an early Rev 2 revamp, it came with 205s, 235s, because it took away the twitchiness of the car. When you look at most cars and they're staggered, well, most rear-wheel drive performance cars will always be staggered. So yeah, fronts. This is going to be crucial to turning. So down in C class and below, you don't necessarily need massive amounts of front end grip, but once you do get up into the A's, S's and R classes, you are going to want wide front tyres to increase your turning response and things like that, and then you are going to want wider rear tyres to counter the snap that you can get from running the wide front tyres. So excuse me, what we're going to do now, so we've got 225s and then 245, so it naturally staggers it when we put them up anyway. So what we'll try up now is we'll just go up on the rears. We'll have the tyre compound. If there was anywhere where I was going to steal from the grip to use for performance points, it would be here. I'd lose a tyre width first. Weight reduction I'm always going to want, because it increases your acceleration, it increases your braking, it increases your corner speed, your rotation speed, your turning. There's too many advantages of having a lightweight car to not put lightweight on. There's too many advantages of having slick tyres to not put slick tyres on. I know there's probably plenty of people running around without slick tyres, but none of you are winning races in lobbies that I'm in. Yeah, so I mean, I could possibly win races without slick tyres, but at the end of the day, even if you go from medium to slicks, it's worth a second, 0.8 of a second. So It's just like buying time. So I would be inclined to always have race tyres. Always have it staggered. So we've got 185, 225s. I generally stick to a minimum of 30mm generally, but that's 40mm. We're in a lower class, so we'll see what it goes like. Brakes again, so lightweight. These brakes are lighter. 2257. Oh, they're not that much lighter than the standard though, but they will be adjustable. A lot of the time in a lot of the cars you can get like a £40 saving from having these brakes over these brakes or these brakes. These brakes will be heavier because they're bigger. These are more efficient and lighter. So we'll have these for now, although it's only 3 points, so. In fact, I might not have them. We'll see how it stops without them. Roll bars, always have the roll bars because it's crucial for creating rotation. And like, I don't know whether you, when you're doing your rivals and you get to the limit of sort of what you're capable of doing at the time and you're racing the ghost that's just ahead of you or 10 ahead of you, you'll see that he generally is getting round the corners a little bit quicker and he's exiting the corners a little bit quicker and he's getting into the corners a little bit quicker. And that is all to do with rotation. So he set his car up to get into the corners quicker, to handle tighter. But with that comes a loss of stability. For every bit you increase the rotation, you lose stability. So you have to be able to drive the car that behaves in that manner. Yeah, some people, they get on just well setting the car up for understeer, but a faster car is a loose car. So sometimes if you download fast tunes, you will find it hard at first until you can rein in the entry points of the corner and where you should be braking. You know, but the first things you need to be teaching yourself is stuff like trail braking and things like that, where you're not loading up your brakes fully all the time. You're just gliding into the bend. You know, you want to be practicing with the racing line on and trying to get into them bends with the line still red and trying to keep it as red and as orange as you can. So if you're going round in a red to orange and you're understeering, it's because you haven't got enough rotation. So you need to increase the rotation. But that in turn will increase the snappiness of the rear. But then there's other ways of honing that in, as you'll see when we go through it. So what we do for now is we go full weight reduction, full springs, full roll bars. Brakes we're not going to bother just because it was such a small difference on this car. And I don't think we're going to be worried about stopping the car in C class. So ballast we don't need, obviously. Roll cage. Now here's a roll cage. So at the moment we're at 2,244 pounds, right? Let's say the average fairly big large passenger is going to be around 180 pounds. Yeah, so if I put 180 pounds onto that, that's going to put us onto 2,424. Yeah, 2,424. Let's see where it sticks us. Whoa, almost there. So we've got a light passenger. We've got an extra 120 pounds. So what's that? A 60, 70 kilo person, probably like an extra, what, 7 stone, 6 stone passenger in the car. So what did it do for our grip? 124, 126, 123, 125. Now, is that negatable? I.e., can we tune 124, 126 out of it? Because what did we lose from acceleration? So the quarter mile, 15.4. Look at that, 15.1. That's 3/10 of a second. Now, I don't think with that 0.01 of a G, you're going to make 3 seconds off me, or 3/10 of a second off me, sorry, on all the corners, as I'm going to have on every exit. So again, I never put this on. Never put this on. Sometimes if I was at a car and I was struggling to get it down into C class, I might put one of these on just to bring it down. But most of the time we won't have this. It's just like carrying a passenger around. Yeah, if you want to go into a race and carry a passenger around, you're at a disadvantage straight away. In the real world you'd need this. In the Forza world you don't. In the real world you'd like to have this, but in the Forza world you don't need it. You can tune these elements into the car. So that's the performance parts we're going to go for now. Where is the car sitting? So we've got 3.8 per hand, and that's not too bad. Could we go up a little bit? Do the brakes do much to it? It's a big jumping brakes there, isn't there? Let's see, that figure in itself, these figures on the right hand side are only really relevant to the car you're in, and even then they can be exaggerated. Like if you go to R class, you'll get a car with 10 for speed that will do 220 mile an hour, and you get a car with 4.4 for speed that will still do 185 mile an hour. So, you know, take into consideration and take a pinch of salt with a lot of these settings. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the tyres and look at that screen again. So if we went to 245s, oh look, it's a jump. Oh look, it's a jump. That's a jump. That's not too much of a jump. What do we get for handling? Look, 2.8. So okay, so we're going to have that for now then. And now we're going to focus on power. At the moment we've got a supercharged 1.6 litre engine. So we could turbocharge it. It makes a big jump in pace. So what we do now is we look at the figures on the right hand side and we try and remember them as much as we can. So we've got 5.8, a 15.3 and a 14.4 dead. Braking I'm not too concerned about, because, and G's I'm not too concerned about, because we'll see where they are after tuning. This is now down to the performance. This is now down to the performance area of it. Sorry, I just sat back then. So if we now go to engine swap, we could swap. No, we couldn't. So we can't swap. We are stuck with this. Most of the time, I find that the standard engine is the best anyway. Generally, if I was to swap an engine, be looking at this in a different class, I'd be thinking about the lightest engine, which would be something like this. But obviously, that's going to be trying to use this car in S class, which with 4.1 per hand is going to be brave. So yeah, let's stick to what it's good at. C class by the looks of it. So here we are. We're going to go to performance. Now, most of the time, what I try to do is split the difference, or have much of the same. So at the moment on this engine, nothing seems to be tuned apart from we already seem to have a level 1 intercooler and supercharger and oil cooler. Typical of a Japanese car this time. So we'll do everything. That's the first stage that it will let us do. So I think an exhaust is going to pump it up. No, that's all right. So we'll go first exhaust, we'll go first air filter, first fuel line, first ignition, and then they are all on number 1. And then we'll go first valve, first one of them, and then the flywheel I do always like to add, because flywheel on some cars adds quite a lot to acceleration. On this car, not so much. But on some cars, it's always worth looking at. On here, it's not worth too much. It's worth about 100th of a second, just over. So it's not worth too much, but we'll see what we can get on. There we go. So now we have a power to weight of 77, which is low for this class, but you find with the mid-engine cars, because they can handle better, they'll generally always end up with a slightly less power to weight. Now what you can do with this, which we did look at already, and I might do because I'm not happy with 77, I'm going to knock these tyres back down to here and to here, and now we're on a power weight of 78 and we've got more room to manoeuvre. 81, that's more like it there. Oh, there you go. Let's go to an even. One of them. Or what we can do, sometimes you don't need power, you just need less weight. 79. Let's see. It's all an experiment. Still 81, a little bit lighter, a little bit less power. What do we get? 81, 2197 weight, 177 horsepower, nice bit of torque at 171. Weight shift isn't too bad at 54%. So we're going to go with that. That's the build we've got at the moment. Right, now tuning is subjective. People are going to tune it different to the way I do it and what you see here. But we're going to tune it live in a lobby and see how it competes against other people. You know, I'm pretty sure you won't see too many Mark 1 and Mark 2s. So let's see if there's anything starting that will give us a bit of time to have a practice couple of laps in it and see where we're at. But I'll show you where to start with tuning. I mean, I'm already ahead because I know where I'd start, but we'll start from the scratch. So we've got 14 minutes on Ohio. Okay, we'll have this. We'll have Ohio. I actually like this track, so if there's any special ones in here, we might have to get something out, but let's stick to the game plan. So, what do we have? The MR2. Let's go with the MR2. Mid-Ohio sports car course.
Okay. The difference between Mid-Ohio short circuit and full sports car circuit is a barely noticeable 0.2 of a mile. There are the same number of turns in both layouts.
Interesting, right. So let's fuel and tyre. Let's see where we're at first on the Delta. Now the Delta, if I refer to the Delta, it means the lap time at the bottom when you're doing the fuel and tyres. This is what's known as your Delta. What's your Delta? So when we do this is what we gauge our time at 119.2. I think it's pretty good. I think that's pretty good, and we haven't even put a tune on it yet. So if we look at the tune on the car already, we've got tyre pressures of 28 and 30. Now that's going to tear your tyres apart around here. Mid-Ohio is a demanding track on your tyres. There's lots of elevation changes, direction changes, crests and cambers, so you know it really works the tyres. The tyres will heat themselves up on this track, no problem, so don't start with them too high. I'll show you where I'll go with them in a minute. Gearing again, so look, this gearing is far too long. As you can see, you've got first, second, third, look pretty neat and tidy, but you're up to what, 92 mile an hour. It's probably too long, too sluggish for this class. So alignment, again, you probably got not enough camber. The toe, unusually the toe is pretty square. Like a lot of the time on fours you'll see cars set up like this. This is understeering. It's controlling its smoothness, but it's understeering. I would generally level them off to start with. If I was going to be tuning from scratch and not knowing how a car felt, I wouldn't start with a Forza tune of this, because you're going to be trying to tune that element out of it. You might just see what the car feels like this with square tyres. The toe is basically the fronts of the tyre and which direction they face. So this is inwards, this is outwards. Now any direction would mean you'll get more response this way, smooth control this way. But any direction means in a straight line, your tyres aren't essentially facing straight. So that's going to scrub your tyres. The more you went out this way, the more friction you're going to be doing in tyres in the straight lines. The slower you're going to turn in, or the slower the back's going to react. The faster the back will react by going this way. Same with the front. So front, slow turning, silly fast turning. You only ever need finite movements with this. So I'd be inclined to go one like that, but that's because I know what I want. I want a fast turning response. These mid-engine cars are notorious for not wanting to rotate. I'm probably going to run out of time here, and we're probably going to have to jump out and go into another lobby to practice, which is a shame to like the track, but we'll quickly put a tune on it. So with camber, I already know where I want my camber. I'm going to want my camber on 2 and 1.5. Now again, if you were describing it as a rotational point of view when you get into a corner, as you roll into a corner, this will means your tyre will square off. Your tyre's already sort of leaning into itself a little bit. The top shoulder is inwards towards you, so as you lean onto the tyre around a corner, you'll get more of a contact area in a corner than you will on a straight. So in a generally front engine rear wheel drive, mid engine rear wheel drive, rear engine rear wheel drive, any rear wheel drive car, this is where I'd have it. In front wheel drive cars and forward drives, it would be the same, but the way I do set up some cars, if the rear does get a bit loose and slippy and lift off oversteer like front wheel drive cars, there's no problem running that rear up to 3, because on a front wheel drive car you're not really using the rears a lot. They can take the extra friction and the extra heat, you know. So again, if it's a bit steppy out on the rear, do sometimes consider just increasing your camber, because it won't have that much of a negative effect, but it will just aid in catching that tyre a little bit as you lift off the throttle. Most of the time you want to try and control the transition between the brake and the throttle, and not be slamming on the brake and slamming on the throttle. You want to be doing sometimes both at the same time. Even when you watch people heel and toeing in race cars, things like that, you know, they'll be throttle matching on gear changes, they'll be braking and accelerating into sweet spots of corners and things like that. So we're going to start with a negative toe. This is a positive toe. This is going to increase our turning slightly. So this here caster allows you to run a lower camber. So people in the past might have run heavier cambers, but since Forza has had caster, which is in the older games as well, you run a higher caster and it'll increase, the more you put the turn on the wheel, the more it'll increase these two numbers. So if you look at your telemetry, when you go into a corner, you'll probably be more hitting 2.7, 3.0 camber by the time you're into the peak of the corner, and then settle back in. So anti-roll bars, this is set for understeer. This is understeer. Now again, these cars notoriously need a bit of rotation, so this is oversteer. Any direction you have them this way is oversteer, because you have a softer front and a harder rear. So that means as you transition sideways into a bend, the suspension is going to push the forces and elements of the car through to the tyre. Now the softer the spring, the longer that will take. You'll get more wallow, but the longer the time will take. So if we throw a car into a bend and the front is softer than the rears are going to load up the tyre before the front does, which is going to make the rear of the car want to rotate around faster than the reaction you'd get from the front. And this way round, it'd be the opposite. You'd go into a corner and you'd lose that front end first. So this is for control. Understeery people who like understeer would have it sort of like this. I generally like rotation, so I'd be inclined, and I know the way that this car's going to behave, because mid-engine cars generally need a little bit more rotation than others, because I don't know why. In real life they don't struggle, but in Forza World they do. I think it's just a punishment nerf on mid-engine cars, but you can exploit it with the roll bar. So here we go on to springs and damping. I'm worried I'm running out of time here to even get a practice lap in. So damping, basically, when you do your damping, this is a nice little sweet spot, 4.6 to start with. 4.6 would be equivalent to 6.9. Now it does start you in this range, and this is actually the right range, even if you play motorbike games and car games, very similar. So this one here at the top, this is the way that your spring compresses. So when you go into a bump and your spring closes and the gap between the wheel arch and the wheel gets closer, this is the speed in which that gap gets closer. And then when you come off the bump and your wheel fires back down at the road, this is the speed in which your wheel reacts to the tarmac, to the impact caused by this, and coming back down and setting you up for the next bump. So generally you would set them up for fast bumps and slow bumps on road surfaces if you were going for track days or driving at different elements like on the road and stuff like that. But fast bumps are generally for going over things like curbs, and slow bumps are generally for going over things like undulations and bumps and lumps in the road, as it were. So curbs are always a bit more, so therefore you need a faster reload for them. As we're on racetracks, we don't generally get bumps and lumps, so we only really have to manage this for curbs. So if you want to plough over a curb without getting sprung into the air like a jack-in-the-box, then this is roughly where you want it. And the only things we change these now is we go to the weight difference, and we've got 54%. So that's an 8% overall difference between the front and the back, with 4% either way. So on these two, we do that by 4. So if we went 4 there, I don't generally like going extreme. Like if it's a car with 10, I'll still probably stick to 5, because I don't generally like going past 5 because it's too much of a difference between the front and back. You can adjust that with the springs, but not really the damping. So we'll go with a slower reaction on the back just because it's softer. So we'll have 4.2, which in turn would make this 6.3. Yeah. So basically you work that out by 4.6. Half of 4.6 is 2.3. So you add 2.3 onto 4.6 and it gives you 6.9. 4.2, half of that is 2.1. You add 2.1 onto 4.2 and it gives you 6.3. That's generally the course for working out damping. So you can run it higher. Want to go to 5? Yeah. Half of 5 is 2.5. 2.5 onto 5 would be 7. That is where you be. That's the mathematics behind your tuning. Okay. So sorry it's going to be quiet. I'm just sitting back while I'm doing this bit at the moment. I've got this sore neck. So we'll leave that where we had it. 4.6, 6.9. So we're trying to do this quickly now. So geometry, here's the master plan. Anyway, let's turn the aero up for now. We're on O high, we're going to need the extra grip. Differential, we're in C class. All brakes with input brakes. Differential, we're in C class. So this will turn this down. I'll explain the rest of this in a second, but I'll try and get a test lap in. So we're going to leave that on 70. Basically, the more slip you want from the wheels, the higher it is. The more control you want from the diff and smoother throttle response out of the bend, the lower it is. The lower you put this, the less rotation on the car you get, the less the turning circle gets worse. So you can't travel around a tight corner as tight. You know, if you're in a long corner like a parabolica or something like that, you're going to struggle to maintain the inside. So generally your best bet, especially in lower classes, to run this high. Same with this. This will be more controlled to the bend. If you're swinging the back end under braking and you find it hard to control the entrance of the bend, then you would turn this up to somewhere like here, 15, 10%. But in these classes, you really don't need it. So we're going to go without. 70% without. Aero. Geometry. This is much like roll bars. So it's the same. Soft front end, stiff rear end. This creates oversteer and rotation. But it actually works in harmony with the roll bars. So it actually makes, when you just do roll bars, it can have like a balance shift between when it's rotating and when it's twitching. It can be finite. The further you go in this direction, the further apart these become, the more chance of a twitch. Some cars can handle it, some cars can't. But you know, you want to go as far apart this way as you can before you start getting the twitch. But then when you get the twitch, you then want to go to your geometry, and then you just want to dial this one out and this one out a couple of clicks. Sometimes you can go further, but this will just help it. We'll go 1.2 and 1.2 to start with. This one here is the front. So this is the anti-dive. So having this stiff will aid you in braking, but like you don't really want to be super heavy on the brakes, and it also helps. It's the same as roll bars. If I have a stiff front, the front's going to go first in a corner. So, which you do want that on this, and you don't want to set them all up this way. This comes all different on all cars, but having it neutral or soft will give you a better response of the throttle without kicking the rear end out on a turn. If you turn this up here, you'll get more response from the throttle and it will kick the back end out, exiting the corner. So have this on a neutral at first, as close to 0 as you can on the positive side. And this one, again, probably the same. You want to go down a bit, you want to be softer because it gives it time to turn in before the forces are put onto the tyres. It allows the tyres to react to the corner before all of the weight is thrown at them. You don't want to be braking hard. I mean, if you're nose diving under braking, you're probably braking too hard anyway. You know, save that for the last ditch attempts on the final corners cleanly, trying to outmatch someone's brakes. But we'll speak about race pathing on another video. So we're going to go down to 5, and that's us done. We've only got 5 minutes, so we're going to go and quickly see what we can do. What did we do to the Delta? Don't know if it changed much. Can't remember. I think it come down a little bit, to be honest, but that's maybe just me. So everyone's had a practice. We haven't. We're going to go out. We're going to qualify in a new car straight away. Vroom, vroom. Where do you think we're coming then?
Race starts in 5 minutes.
You see the rotation on it straight away, look. Oh, we didn't do the gears. We've lost the lap and we didn't do the
Nice
gears.
work out there.
Thought it felt a bit like hello, sluggish. Right, let's quickly get the gears. This is right, this is easy. Tune car. So gearing. Now down in C class, oh, let's do them all down. You're going to want to launch. So you're going to want this on 35. Then if your first gear is 35, you're not going to want your second gear to be longer than 35 mile an hour. Then you want it to be short enough to still pull like a train. So we're going to go 55, that's 20 mile an hour. So we don't want the next gear to be any more than 20 mile an hour. So we're going to go 15 mile an hour and be at 70 mile an hour. We don't want the next gear to be any more than 15 mile an hour. So we're going to go 15 mile an hour again. And we're going to go 15 mile an hour again. And we're going to go 15 mile an hour again. So we're at 130 mile an hour. That's fine for this course. Let's go. Might still get 2 laps in. Look at the way it just goes into the bend, look. Look at the rotation, look. We're not struggling. 119 is the first lap, 119 MX5 running. We can have this line. So it doesn't give you a penalty, and I'm not going the long way round just to be courteous for somebody else to take that line. Go on, little M2. Go on, little M2. What you want to be careful of when you are racing and you're stuck with other people to go, so don't get caught up in their race. You know, their car has different braking and handling tolerances, just stick to your race. If you caught them, your race is clearly faster, so stick to your racing line, or not your racing line, but your pace. Don't get drawn into trying to outbrake them. You know, if they've been a bit blocky and elbowing, then you're going to have to try and pick your time and find their weak point. You know, you can be easier on some tracks than others, admittedly, you know. But, you know, I'd give someone 3 or 4 laps of doing it to me, and then we'll have to get a bit aggressive and elbow ourselves. So we're going to see where we're going to come in on this first lap. We're going to get one more flying up here. Not quite a hole, but we're coming number 2. I'm on a joystick control at the moment, so we're doing the button clicks. Full manual, no traction control, no stability. Like I say, you see the way when the line's on, you want to be getting in on the line. Look, still red. Then as soon as it goes orange, you want to be trying to work out a way to get on that throttle and get that speed back. To get early on your bend, especially on this one, you need to be out of there before that hill. Roll around here, just sometimes you don't really need the brakes, you just need the time to roll off the throttle.
Seconds.
We've got 120.4.
Good work out there. Currently P2 after qualifying.
We can't see what old Seven's in. We can guess he's in a Mazda or BMW. M3, 1991. I'd have guessed. Oh, 10 seconds. Oh, it's gonna beat us to it. I'm like, look. Oh no, he's in a Maserati. Oh, nice. Congratulations to him, I like his style, something different. So as you see, we didn't really get any practice. These lot have been running around all day. We only had 2 laps. I could probably hone it a little bit more. Did feel a little bit stiff, but you could see that it was smooth and it was set up a rotation. You know, my aim here with this channel is to make you all faster. I don't want to hide anything from you. I want to teach you all how to be faster. Just please like and subscribe, hit the button, help us do it, you know. Oh no, he's in a BRZ, look. BRZ. Oh, well, we're going to stick to softs. We're going to try and run them. No, we're not. We're going to get dashboarded. No, we're getting dashboarded. There you go. Forza. Yeah, maybe that one's in the line for the next fix. But you see there, the method's tuned basically. You know, what I can do, I can do another video where we go in depth with this. That has cut it short, I suppose, but it's all the basics of what I did there and why we did it. If there's anything else you want to know, please hit it in the comments and we'll cover it in the next one. I'm thinking of doing a tuning session where we can get any of the community members who want to come into an open session lobby. We can have the chat on, we'll all be chatting, and I can help you hone out your cars and see if we can improve some of your lap times on whatever tracks you want to do, whatever cars you want to tune, classes. We'll have it open. You can all be practicing and we can all be tuning, and then you won't have to rely on other people's tunes. You can tune it to how you feel, because on steering wheels it's a bit different. You do want a little bit more smoothness. On the controller you can get away with an edgier car because you get a quicker reaction time from the stick than trying to rotate a steering wheel from 90 degrees right to 90 degrees left. Is a lot quicker than me going left to right with my thumb. A lot slower, should I say. It's a lot quicker on my thumb. But yeah, so I suppose that's going to be it for this one. We can keep this one a little bit short. But thanks for watching. Hope you've all learned something. This is my first time of doing it, so we're closing out. It's probably going to be bad. But please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please come back for more. And hopefully we'll start doing some live streams and you can all see me soon enough. And yeah, we'll start making a community and make it all work. And we'll go and dominate the lobbies together. Thanks for watching. Keep tuning. Keep winning. When the clutch drops, the bullshit stops. Ta-da.